The market was alive with noise. Alien voices shouted from every corner. The smell of smoke and oil filled the air. On a raised platform, under bright, harsh lights, stood cages. Inside them were living beings. Some cried. Some stayed silent. Some had already given up, but one cage held a girl who still had hope. She was small compared to the towering aliens around her. Her skin was pale, her silver eyes glowing faintly, even in the dirt and blood. Her clothes were torn, her hands tied. In front of her, she trembled, but her eyes were sharp. She looked young, fragile, but also alive in a place where most had already accepted death. The auctioneer raised his forearms and shouted, his voice echoing across the market. "Fresh meat! Rare breed! Strong heart, soft flesh!" The crowd roared. Bidders shouted numbers. Some licked their teeth. Others laughed, imagining the taste. She closed her eyes. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She had seen what happened to the ones sold before her. She knew her turn was next. And then she saw him. Among the crowd of monsters stood one figure that did not belong. A human. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes that scanned the platform. His clothes were dusty from travel, but his presence was strong. His jaw was hard, his hands clenched into fists. He stood still, but inside him, a storm was building. The human had seen many things in his life. But this market was different. It was not trade. It was not survival. It was cruelty. And when his eyes met the girl's, he felt something break inside. The auctioneer banged his staff on the platform. "She is next." Bidding starts high. Look at her eyes. Perfect delicacy. Worth every credit, the aliens cheered. Hands went up. The numbers climbed. The girl's chest rose and fell quickly. She was shaking. She knew no one would save her. Not here. Not in this place. And then, as the guards pulled her forward, she turned her head. She looked straight at the human. Her lips barely moved, but he heard it. "Human, please save me." The human froze. He had heard many cries for help before, but this was different. Her voice was not loud. It was not desperate. It was quiet, fragile, but it carried a weight that cut into his soul. The guards yanked her arms and pushed her toward the crowd. The bidding grew louder. Numbers shouted. Alien laughter filled the air. The human stepped forward. His heart was pounding. His mind was screaming. He could walk away. It was not his fight. One wrong move and he would be dead too. But then he saw her stumble. He saw the tears she tried to hide. He saw how she clutched the chains as if they were the only thing keeping her standing. And again, her lips moved. This time, the words were even softer. "Save me." The human clenched his jaw. His fists tightened. He knew what this meant. If he acted, he would be hunted. He would be marked. But if he stayed silent, she would be slaughtered like an animal. The auctioneer shouted louder. "Sold! To the highest bidder." The crowd erupted with cheers. The buyer, a massive alien with jagged teeth, stepped forward with hunger in his eyes. The girl's face turned pale. She could not even breathe. Her knees went weak. The human's breath slowed. His eyes locked on her one last time. And in that moment, he made his choice. The alien guard dragged her down the steps, chains rattling. She stumbled, and for a brief second, her head turned. She saw the human again. He didn't move, not yet, but his eyes burned with fire. Her whisper echoed. In his mind, "Hold me, use me, just get me out of here." He understood. She was not asking to be saved like a princess in a story. She was begging to be taken out of this nightmare, no matter the cost. As the aliens led her away, the human turned and melted back into the crowd. His heart thundered in his chest. His mind screamed at him, Dot. He would follow. He would wait. And when the time was right, he would strike. Because she had asked him with her last strength. And he could not, he would. Not ignore that whisper. The alien city lights burned in the distance. The girl was taken into the dark, her chains clinking in the silence. And in the shadows, the human walked after them. His choice had been made. The story of one girl sold as meat was about to change. Asterisk. The night air was thick with smoke and neon. Glow. The human kept his hood low as he walked through the narrow streets of the alien city. His eyes stayed fixed on the caravan moving ahead. 4 guards surrounded a cage. Inside, the girl sat curled in the corner, her chains rattling with every bump of the cart. Every step he took made his chest feel heavier. He had no plan, no backup. Only one thought repeated in his mind. Don't let her die. The caravan turned. Down a dark alley. The guards laughed as they pushed the cart. One of them smacked the bars with his staff, making the girl flinch. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She only lifted her head and looked out. Her eyes found the human again. Hood shadowed most of his face, but she knew it was him. The only one in the crowd who didn't look at her like meat. Her lips moved. The words were so faint, no alien noticed. Hold me. Use me. Just get me out of here. The human froze in place. Her whisper hit him harder than any weapon. She wasn't asking for comfort. She was giving him her last plea. A bargain, save me, even if you must break me to do it. He stepped closer, his heart racing. The guards pushed the cart through a heavy gate. The smell inside was worse than the market. Burnt bones, rotten blood. The place where the buyers came to collect their goods. He clenched his fists. He couldn't wait any longer. The guards dragged the cage into a storage hall. A buyer, a huge alien with jagged teeth, stood waiting. His claws tapped the ground impatiently. Bring her here. Tonight, I feast. The girl gripped the chains tighter. She tried to keep her breathing steady, but her whole body trembled. Her silver eyes shimmered in the dim light, as if begging one last time. The human slipped inside the hall. He pressed himself against the wall, every sense alert. The guards were distracted, their laughter filling the room. And then it happened. Buyer reached out, grabbing the cage door with his claws. The metal screeched as it opened. He leaned down, his teeth gleaming. Soft flesh, fresh blood, worth every coin. The girl shut her eyes. She whispered once more, too soft for anyone but the human to hear. Save me. That was enough. The human moved. He struck like lightning. His fist slammed into the nearest guard's throat, dropping him without a sound. In one motion, he grabbed the fallen guard's blade and cut through the second before he could shout. The hall exploded in chaos. The third guard roared, firing his weapon, but the human ducked low and drove the blade into his chest. Sparks lit the room. The last guard turned, but the human's boot crushed his jaw before he could call for help. In seconds. All 4 guards were down. The buyer roared with fury, his jagged teeth snapping. A human dares. You will die for this. The human ignored him. He ran to the cage. The girl stared up at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. His hands shook as he cut through the chains. The metal clanged to the floor. For the first time, her wrists were free. She didn't speak. She only fell forward, her body collapsing into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, fragile, cold, but alive. He held her close. I've got you, he whispered. The buyer charged. His massive claws swung down, aiming to crush them both. The human spun, rolling with the girl in his arms. The claws smashed into the ground, breaking stone. Dust filled the air. He set the girl down gently. Against the wall. Stay behind me, he said. His voice was calm, but inside his blood boiled. The buyer laughed, his voice deep and cruel. You think one human can fight us? She was meat. You are nothing. The human raised the blade, his eyes burning. She's not meat. She's mine. To protect, the buyer lunged. The hall shook with the force of his steps. The human met him head on. Steel clashed against claw. Sparks flew. The girl pressed her hands to her mouth, watching with wide eyes. Every strike shook the ground. Every second felt like eternity. The buyer swung hard, but the human ducked low, sliding under the massive arm. He drove the blade into the alien's side. Black blood sprayed across the floor. The buyer howled, staggering back. His eyes blazed with rage. The human didn't stop. He moved like a storm fast, brutal, unstoppable. He struck again and again, until the giant finally collapsed with a roar that echoed through the entire compound. Silence fell. The girl's chains lay broken on the ground. A human stood over the fallen alien, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He turned back to her. She stared at him with tears in her silver eyes. You? You came for me, she whispered. He nodded once. I heard you. She reached out, her hands shaking, and clutched his arm. Don't let go. He lifted her up, holding her close. The alarms in the distance began to scream. Guards were coming, but he didn't care. He had saved her once. He would do it again. As many times as it took. Asterisk. The alarms howled like dying animals. Red lights flashed through the alien compound, painting the walls in blood-colored shadows. The human held the girl in his arms as the floor trembled with heavy footsteps. Soldiers were coming. Dozens, maybe. More. She clung to him, her chains still hanging from her wrists. Her silver eyes were wide, but her voice was steady. They will kill you for this. He looked down at her, his jaw tight. Then I'll take them with me. But you, his grip tightened. You will live. She shook her head weakly. Not without you. The door ahead blasted open. Alien soldiers poured in, their armor shining, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Not the human set the girl down gently against the wall. Stay low. Then he stepped forward. The first soldier fired. The blast scorched past his shoulder, burning the stone behind him. The human charged. His blade slashed through the alien's chest before he could fire again. The girl's breath caught in her throat. He fought like no ordinary man. His movements were sharp, fast, like fire given. Flesh dot, but for every soldier he cut down, 2 more appeared. The hall echoed with gunfire and screams. Sparks and blood rained on the ground. The human grabbed the fallen guard's weapon, a plasma rifle, and fired back. Bolts of light exploded across the room, dropping aliens one by one. The girl crawled forward, dragging the broken chains. This way, she shouted, pointing toward a side door. It leads outside. The human didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms again and sprinted toward the door as fire rained down behind them. They burst into the open night. The alien city stretched ahead, glowing with tall spires and neon banners. But freedom was not close patrols roamed. The streets and the alarms had already reached every corner. The girl's voice trembled. They will never stop. Once you take what they claim is theirs, they will chase you forever. The human's jaw hardened. Let them chase. They won't catch us. Blaster fire cut across the street, forcing him to duck into a narrow alley. Shadows swallowed them, but the sound of boots and alien hounds grew closer. The girl winced as her bare feet scraped against the ground. Her body was weak, fragile from days in chains. But she forced herself to keep moving beside him. At the end of the alley, they found a rusted gate. Locked. The human pressed her back against the wall. Stay behind me. He slammed his boot into the lock. Once, twice, the metal screeched and broke. He shoved the gate open just as a squad of aliens turned the corner. "Run!" he shouted. They sprinted through the darkness, their breaths sharp and ragged. Behind them, the aliens roared, their footsteps pounding like thunder. The alley opened into a wide loading yard filled with crates and old cargo skiffs. The human pulled her down behind a stack of metal containers as spotlights swept the area. They crouched together, pressed close, both gasping for air. Her hands clutched his arm. Her whisper was almost broken. "Why? Why risk this for me?" His eyes burned, but his voice was low and calm. "Because when you whispered, I heard something I couldn't ignore. You wanted to live." Her silver eyes shimmered with tears. "Then don't let go. Not until the end." He nodded once. "I won't." A spotlight passed overhead. Alien soldiers marched through the yard, scanning every shadow. The human's hand tightened on the plasma rifle. If they were found, it would be over. But then he saw it a half-broken cargo skiff resting on the far side of the yard. Its engines looked ancient, but maybe, just maybe, it could fly. He leaned close to her ear. "When I say run, we run together. Straight to that skiff." She swallowed hard, but nodded. Her hand didn't leave his arm. The soldiers drew closer. The hounds sniffed the air. The spotlights swept left, right, now. They ran. Blaster fire ripped through the yard. Crates exploded around them. Sparks rained down. The girl stumbled. But the human caught her, pulling her forward. They dove into the skiff. The human slammed his hand against the control panel. The old engine coughed, groaned, then roared to life. The aliens shouted, charging toward them. The human grabbed the controls and pulled hard. The skiff jerked upward, engines screaming as it rose into the night sky. Bolts of plasma tore through the air. One struck the side, sending sparks flying. The girl cried out, clutching the seat. The human gritted his teeth, forcing the skiff higher. The city shrank below them, the towers glowing like knives in the dark. But the alarms didn't stop. The alien fleet was already moving. Lights flared across the sky warships rising to intercept. The girl turned to him, her face pale. "They will kill us both." He glanced at her, his jaw tight, his eyes blazing with fire. "Not if I kill them first." The stolen skiff rattled like it was ready to break apart. Smoke leaked from the damaged engine, leaving a burning trail. In the night sky inside, the human kept one hand tight on the controls, the other steadying the girl who clung to the seat. Her silver eyes stayed fixed on him, wide with fear. "They're still behind us," she whispered. He didn't need to look. The sky lit up with red streaks, alien warships spreading like a net across the stars. Their voices roared through loudspeakers. "Return the property. Return the meat, and we will grant you a quick death." The girl's breath shook. "They will never stop. You don't understand once they mark you. They hunt you forever." The human's eyes narrowed. "Then let them hunt." The skiffs. Alarm screamed. The engine gave one last groan and exploded in sparks. The vessel lurched, spinning wildly. "Hold on," he shouted. The girl threw her arms around him. Together they braced as the skiff plummeted. They crashed through the clouds, fire streaking behind them. The skiff slammed into a dense jungle, tearing through branches and smashing into the ground. Silence. Only the sound of dripping rain and distant animal cries. The girl coughed, her body trembling. We're alive?" The human pushed himself up, blood running down his forehead. He helped her out of the wreck. The air was heavy with mist and the smell of wet earth. Strange glowing plants lit the darkness. But there was no time to breathe. The roar of alien engines echoed above. Spotlights cut through the trees. The warships had tracked their fall. They'll send the hounds, the girl whispered, her voice breaking. The human's head snapped toward her. Hounds? She nodded weakly, shivering. Beasts bred to track blood. They will smell us, no matter where we run. As if answering her words, a deep howl tore through the jungle. Then another. And another. The human gripped the plasma rifle. His eyes scanned the shadows. Stay close to me. Don't let go. The jungle came alive with movement. Red eyes glowed between the trees. Claws scraped against the wet earth. The first hound burst from the darkness, its body a nightmare mix of metal and flesh, dripping with oil and blood. Its jaws opened wide, lined with razors. The human fired. The plasma bolt tore through the beast's skull, dropping it with a screech, but more followed. Dozens of them. The girl pressed against him, her chains clinking softly. We can't fight them all. He pulled her into a run. Together they pushed through the jungle, the beasts howling behind them. Branches whipped against their skin, mud sucking at their feet. Every step the girl stumbled, weak from her wounds. But the human never let go of her arm. He dragged her forward, faster, harder. The ground shook as the hounds closed in. One leapt from the side, jaws snapping. The human spun, firing point blank. The beast exploded into black blood. Another clawed his back, ripping his jacket. He swung the rifle like a club, smashing the creature's skull into the dirt. Just kept coming. The girl cried out, falling against a tree. Her legs buckled, unable to go on. The human dropped beside her, firing wildly into the shadows. Bolts of light lit the jungle, but the howls only grew louder. They'll never stop. She whispered. Her silver eyes filled with tears. You should leave me. Save yourself. He grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at him. His voice was iron. I didn't fight for you to leave you here. You live or we die together. Her lips trembled, but something inside her broke free. For the first time, she believed him. The hounds circled now, their eyes glowing in every direction. The jungle was a cage, and they were the prey. The human's rifle clicked empty. He tossed it aside and pulled out the blade, his knuckles white. The girl reached for his hand, her chains rattling. If we die, then hold me. He squeezed her hand. Not yet, not tonight. The beasts charged. The human roared, swinging the blade with fury. Metal clashed against flesh. Sparks lit the jungle as he fought like a cornered animal. Every strike was for her. Every wound he took, he ignored. The girl screamed as a hound leapt toward her. She raised her broken chains, swinging with desperate strength. The chains smashed into the beast's face, stunning it long enough for the human to drive the blade through its chest. For a moment, silence. Then a sound split the air. Not a howl, something deeper. Mechanical dot above the trees. A massive alien warship descended, its floodlights blinding. The girl's voice cracked in horror. They've come themselves. A human pulled her into his arms, blood dripping from his wounds. His chest rose and fell like fire. He stared up at the ship, his eyes unflinching. Then let them see, he growled. Let them see what a human does when they hunt the wrong prey. The jungle glowed white under the warship's floodlights. The trees bent under the force of the engines as the massive vessel lowered, shaking the ground like thunder. The girl clung to the human, her breath trembling. We cannot fight this. No one fights a ship like that. The human's jaw tightened. His face was pale with blood, but his eyes burned. We don't fight the ship. We make it bleed. Alien voices echoed from above, sharp and cold. Surrender the meat. Your death will be quick. Resist, and you will be torn apart. The girl's hands shook against his chest. Why won't? You give up? He met her silver eyes, steady and hard. Because giving up is what they want, and I'm human. She had no words. For the first time in her life, she saw something her people had never known: defiance, even at the edge of death. The warship's side hatch opened. Soldiers poured out, armored and armed, their shadows long against the trees. Behind them came more hounds, jaws dripping black saliva. The human pulled the girl deeper into the jungle, weaving between glowing plants and twisted roots. The soldier's spotlights cut across the forest, searching, hunting. He pressed her against a tree and whispered, "Stay hidden. No matter what happens, don't make a sound." Her voice broke. "What are you going to do?" He pulled the plasma blade from his belt, its edge humming faintly. His eyes flicked upward, scanning the branches, the vines, the wreckage of their crash. "Even a warship falls," he muttered, "if you break it the right way." The girl wanted to protest, but before she could speak, he slipped into the shadows. Silent as a predator, the soldiers advanced through the jungle, their boots heavy, weapons sweeping side to side. The hounds snarled, sniffing the ground dots. Suddenly, one soldier stumbled into a tripwire made from the broken chains the girl had worn. The jungle floor erupted in fire as the human's makeshift explosive salvaged from the skiff's engine detonated. Blast tore through the squad, flinging armor and blood into the trees. The hounds howled in pain. The jungle fell into chaos. From the shadows, the human struck. His blade flashed, carving through one soldier after another. His movements were brutal, desperate, fueled by rage and the need to protect. The girl covered her mouth to stop herself from crying out. She watched him fight like no man should be able to fight. He wasn't just surviving, he was defying an empire. But the warship above shifted, engines roaring louder. Its weapons charged, blue light building under its belly. The girl's heart froze. They'll burn the jungle with him inside. She couldn't stay hidden anymore. Crawling from the shadows, she stumbled toward him. "No, you'll die." He turned, blood on his face, eyes blazing. "Get back." The warship fired. The jungle erupted in fire. Trees shattered, earth split, animals screamed. The human threw himself over the girl, shielding her from the blast. Heat scorched his back, burning flesh, but he did not move, did not let go. When the fire cleared, the ground smoked. Soldiers advanced again, stepping over ash and bone. The human struggled to his feet, dragging the girl up with him. His breath was ragged, his body broken, but his hand still held the blade. The lead soldier laughed, his voice cruel. One man against an empire. Fool. The human's answer was a snarl. Not one man, a human. He hurled the blade with all his strength. It pierced the soldier's throat, dropping him instantly. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the jungle roared again, this time not from fire, but from something deeper. The ground shook violently. Roots burst from the earth. The glowing plants pulsed with light. The crash had woken something ancient beneath the jungle. The girl's eyes widened in terror. The jungle. It's alive. The human turned to her, pulling her close. Then maybe it hates them more than it hates us. As alien soldiers regrouped, the ground split apart. Massive vines whipped upward, crushing armor, tearing hounds in half. The warship above shuddered as roots wrapped around its hull, dragging it down toward the earth. The aliens screamed. Blaster fire lit the jungle, but it was useless. Nature itself had become a weapon. The human held the girl against him, both staring as the mighty warship began to fall. She whispered, half in fear, half in awe, "You didn't just fight them. You woke the world against them." His voice was low, fierce, unyielding. "No, I just reminded the world what it means to fight." Above them, The warship crashed into the jungle, fire and metal exploding in every direction. And as the smoke rose, the human and the girl stood together alive against all odds. But in the distance, more ships were coming. The hunt was not over. Asterisk smoke rose like black towers from the ruined jungle. The alien warship lay broken, its metal skin tangled in living roots, flames still crackling. But above, the night sky filled with new shadows, more ships, circling like vultures. The girl's chest tightened. There are too many. They will earn the world until nothing is left. The human stood bleeding, his back torn by burns, his body shaking from exhaustion. And yet his eyes burned brighter than the fire around them. Then let them try, he said, voice sharp as steel. The ground shook again. The jungle, awakened by blood and fire, pulsed with life. Giant trees twisted, roots snaked upward, vines glowed like living veins. The very earth seemed to breathe. The girl gripped his arm. You don't understand. This place, it is old. Older than their empire. It feeds on violence. It will kill us too. The human wiped blood from his face, his lips curling into something. Between a grimace and a grin. Then we give it a bigger meal. The alien ships descended, spotlights cutting across the ruins. Loudspeakers thundered. Last warning, return the meat. Return her, or every living thing here will die screaming. The girl flinched at the word meat. But the human only stepped forward, pulling her with him. His voice roared back, carried, by fire and smoke, she is not meat. She is alive. She is free. And if you want her, you'll have to take her from me. For a moment, silence. Then the ships opened fire. Blue plasma rained down, tearing the jungle apart. Trees exploded. Animals shrieked. The ground burned, but the human had prepared. The wreck of the skiff had not been wasted. He had taken its fuel cells, its shards of metal, its coils of power. Hidden beneath the vines, they became bombs. The first ship that fired too low caught the trap. A thunderous blast tore its belly open, flames swallowing it whole. The jungle answered in fury. Roots shot upward, wrapping another ship mid-air, and dragging it down into the fire. The girl clutched him as explosions painted the sky. You're fighting the galaxy itself. He shook his head, never looking away from the burning heavens. No, I'm showing the galaxy what happens when it calls a human prey. Soldiers dropped from above, hundreds of them, pouring into the jungle like a flood. The human roared and charged. His blade flashed, his fist struck, his body moved. With savage desperation, every enemy that came near fell in blood and fire. The girl, weak but fierce now, swung her broken chains, smashing helmets, shattering bones. She no longer trembled. His fire had reached her too, but there were too many. The human strength began to fail. His blade grew heavy. His wounds bled too much. A soldier's strike knocked him to the ground. No! The girl screamed, falling to his side. The soldier raised his weapon to finish him. Then the jungle itself rose. A massive root, thick as a tower, smashed the soldier into nothing. Vines wrapped around the others, crushing them like insects. The girl's eyes widened. She realized the truth. The jungle was not killing them. It was following him. It was fighting with him. You woke it, she whispered, tears in her eyes. It listens to you. The human forced himself to his knees, spitting blood, eyes blazing. He pressed his hand into the ground, into the living roots. Then listen well, he growled. Take them all, the jungle roared. Roots and vines surged like a tidal wave, swallowing soldiers, dragging ships from the sky, tearing apart engines with unstoppable fury. The alien fleet screamed in chaos. Retreat, retreat! But it was too late. One by one, their ships fell. Fire lit the night, turning the jungle into a battlefield of death and defiance. At last, silence, smoke, ash, the jungle groaned, then stilled. The girl knelt beside the human, cradling his bloodied body. "You can't leave me," she whispered, voice breaking. "Not after all this. Please, stay." His hand, heavy and trembling, lifted to her cheek. His lips curved in a faint smile. "You're free now. That's what matters." Tears fell onto his chest. "I don't want freedom without you." His eyes met hers, full of fire even in the fading light. "And live for both of us." The jungle fell quiet. The last sparks died in the night. The girl held him, her chains slipping from her wrists, broken forever. And as dawn broke, painting the sky with gold, she whispered into the silence, "He was human, and he taught me what it means to never bow, to never break."